أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. My brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hafiz Khan and welcome once again to Different Perspectives. Well, the past two programs we focused on interviews with the visitors that came in for the conference, and they are now gone, and we have covered the different areas that they wanted to deal with, the expertise that they had. So today I am dealing with another topic which might take a couple of programs. And just to give you a background, in fact, let me start my program with the normal reminder. Allah will not change the condition of a people unless they desire to change it themselves. So you have to first have that desire and engender that desire within you. And once you have that desire, you'll find that God will raise His hand and help you along to be successful in whatever you want to achieve. So if you want to be a better Muslim in any aspect of your life, then you will find that you will get the help and He'll make it easy for you, inshallah. So about probably just over a year or 2 years ago, I got a little booklet from a good friend of mine, which I've known since we were teenagers, both from different Jamaats and being members of the TMYO. So we played different sports against one another, and we got to know. And this is one of the benefits of the MYO, which we don't have again, because I know we used to be all over the country playing cricket, football, tennis, and getting to know Muslims from all over the country, which have served me and a lot of others around that time, because we got to know most of the Muslim community throughout the country. So I know him a number of years. So he sent me a little booklet, and it would mark gold on it. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. I thought he probably had telling us about the value of gold and how gold plays a part in Islam and that kind of thing. And so I put it aside, but I had it where all my usual reading material is, but it doesn't take precedence, because I do so much research on an ongoing basis for the topics that I do on these programs on an ongoing basis. But during last Ramadan, I saw it and I took it up and I started to browse through it. I realized it was really gold in terms of the information that he had. And it was very intellectual. And I called him immediately and said, listen, man, I need to have you on my program, because these topics that you have covered here is really one that should have been put to rest for a very long time. And it is really a mark against the Muslim community that we haven't been able to do that. So let me introduce you to my good friend. He is Mustafa Bagrati. He's the Imam of the Balmain Masjid. So welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And welcome to Different Perspectives on IBN.
Jazakallah, nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
All right. So this is the book that he had. As I tell you, it's gold. I don't know if you might be able to see it, but all right, it's marked gold. Gold Perspectives in Islam. And he covers in this book some really good topics. It's moon sighting, Nisab, Jummah, and Allah is Maulana. You know, we have a lot of Maulanas now, so we'll see when we come. So the methodology that he used in dealing with these different topics is one full of intellect. And you know me on this program, my view on intellect, and I think Islam is full of intellect and is the source of intellect and is based on intellect. And therefore I was very impressed, and that's why I called him immediately while I was reading through the book to ask him to come in, because I thought it was so important. And he has done this study on it and done such a good, complete job. I thought it would really be a benefit to everyone to be able to, and I know he gave these books out to all Jamaats, because I have seen it in my Jamaat, a number of them. He sent me a personal copy, um, and it's there, and a lot of people have taken it. So I'm sure they would probably have read it. But how much have we pondered on it is left to be seen. So just a bit about Mustafa. He started his formal Islamic education at Darul Uloom, and that was in 1990 when Mufti Shabil was still around. So he did an intermediate course in Islamic studies, commentary on the Holy Quran, tafsir, an intermediate course in recitation of Holy Quran, commentary of Hadith in 1994, commentary of Holy Quran 1995. He did a 2-year course in Arabic language course 91 and 93, and an Arabic course intermediate upper level 93 and 95. Completed 2 years of a 3-year Alim course program designed by Mufti Shabil. And unfortunately, Mufti Shabil died before he finished the course, and it was stopped for whatever reason. He proceeded to complete an associate degree in Arabic and Islamic studies with first class honors in 1999. He has been the Imam of the Balmain Masjid for the past 23 years. In the secular field, he had postgrad course in land planning, is it?
Land administration.
Land administration, and he finished his working career at the senior level in the Lands and Surveys Department.
Commissioner of State Lands.
Commissioner of State Lands. So, to start with, what the goal in this thing mean?
Well, okay, definitely I wouldn't do something if I didn't think it
Of
was
course, I know
valuable,
that.
right? And I was looking for a name, and then because one of the chapters
Nisab.
within Nisab, where I'm advocating that we use goal, decided, well, okay, this might be an appropriate name for it. Yeah.
But actually, seeing goal didn't encourage me to read it in the first instance. But goal is an appropriate name from the fact that the content of the thing is really gold.
Right.
Valuable.
Yeah.
Right? So the first item that you dealt with was in fact the moon sighting. So I know you have an introduction on this thing. So if you want to give us the introduction and how you came to deal with these issues.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to realize that from the time the Prophet ﷺ passed away, there started Mashura, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ was no longer there. And because of the dynamism of the world, I think this Shura should continue. And we as Muslims must strive for excellence. We should not settle for mediocrity and so on. We should not allow ourselves to be led blindly, because this can lead to complacency and oppression upon our own selves, right, if we allow this to happen. So I think the dialogue should continue, because Islam has within it a built-in dynamism that fits the changing world around us. So we need to explore that in order to adapt ourselves, not to change the religion, but to adapt ourselves to the changing world around us. And I decided these topics always occupy my mind from way back, since I was a student.
Yeah.
Since I was a student. And then during my working career, I had also experiences, not only as an imam, but as an ordinary Muslim attending the Jummah, and I realized there were problems, issues and so, and many people came to me over the years. They have been coming and making inquiries, asking for opinions and so on.
And giving opinions too,
yeah,
I'm sure.
Right. So I decided I will do this work.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent, because all that you said there is what this program is all about. All the things you said in your introduction is what this program has been doing for 7 years now.
Okay.
Right? And And that is why it was easy to when I started to read this book,
Mhm.
everything was really in line with what my particular thoughts were and how I approach my religion of Islam. You know, one with, as you say, the world is changing,
Mhm.
and Islam is one that it came to be here and applicable and relevant.
Until Qiyamah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
But I see there are some who view the thing that we should stay in the time frame of the 6th century
Yeah.
until that
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
which is two diametrically um, contradictory
Mm,
views about the whole thing. So, all right, so the first one you tackled was the moon sighting, which we
mhm,
know what the little bacchanal is
mhm,
be
mhm.
every time we have to determine a significant day in Islam.
Right, right.
So, and I see you spoke about 2016, so this was last year you wrote
Um,
this thing, right?
yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
All right, so you continue what you started with giving Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah,
So take us through how your thought processes went
yeah.
with this thing.
Okay, they now we must remember we always have this situation where we are faced with on the eve of Ramadan, on the eve of Eid al-Fitr, we are waiting on the sight of the moon. A lot of people get confused. They don't know whether we take in local, regional, global sighting, etc. So when we look at it in the Quran, right? In many ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that the stages of the moon, they are fixed and they do not change. They do not change. So the what we have to realize is that whether the weather conditions are bad or so on, it doesn't influence the moon
Right.
stages, right? If the moon is sighted and in one part of the world, we in the past, right, we see where we have riwayat where the moon was sighted and the Sahaba reporting to another Sahaba, and they say, well, no, we didn't see it here because that was a whole month after he is reporting it, right? At present, within minutes we get, or seconds, we get news where the moon is sighted and so on, right? And I explored the idea of us accepting a global sighting because this is one thing, at least we can start with to unite the Ummah,
Right.
and which is so important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stresses it, the Prophet ﷺ stresses that we should not be divided, we should be united. And if this is a simple thing, right, it's a simple issue, right, because we recognize the universal day in Islam, the 24 hours, right? Every 24 hours is a different day. And Monday is Monday all over the world. Friday, Juma, is all over the world. We don't have Juma today here and Juma next day somewhere else, okay? So we, even in places where there are days and months of sunlight and the sun doesn't set, so that you cannot have prayer
Yeah.
at sunset, and so the ulama have agreed that we go into the five salah daily salah must be established within the 24 hours, and so that is instructive that they have recognized this universal day, and we we should really pay some attention to that. And we use the right now we have information as to where the moon can be sighted, where it can be easily visible, right? Where it could be possibly visible and where it cannot be visible at all, right? So if we have information that the moon can be visible here in these places, and then we get information that the moon has been sighted, well, we know that the, the fixation is there, right? And it has actually been sighted. So here it is, we are even though we not see it here, we are using the actual sighting, because it has been sighted, and we are also using the knowledge we have with regards to the stages of the moon that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he has fixed, and we determine our day according to that. Um, the some of the hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will see that he did not make too much of fuss when it came to moon sighting. When a Bedouin Arab came and said he has sighted the moon, Prophet ﷺ said, "Do you testify that there is only one God and Muhammad is the messenger?" He testified. He asked him again, he testified. Prophet ﷺ told Bilal to announce to the people to start fasting the next day. And we have other hadiths concerning this. So here it is, even the sighting of one person who was not a renowned person, right? This is a Bedouin Arab. He was willing to accept it. And from all the evidence, he was careful in getting the day correct, right? We know that it is haram to fast on the days of Eid, right? So, and also on the days of Ramadan, it is haram to eat.
Yeah.
So we should be very scrupulous and careful in terms of getting the day right. And one of the ways of doing it is really to look at the universal sighting of the moon, and also you use what we know of the computation and the calculation to assist us. Remember, we are the same people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, start your fast when the white thread of dawn is visible from the black thread of the night, right? Nobody gets up to look at that, right?
Right,
we have a computed timetable for the entire month, and we follow that, right? And so we shouldn't be really, should I say, coward in exploring the possibility of using it. I am not saying to leave out moon's actual sighting. I'm saying let what the scientists are able to do now, let it assist us in determining the exact dates and so on, because the day, whatever day it is, it's universal, right? And we find is only in Islam we have this situation where one day it is for here us in this region, and the next region. And if we look at the general world, right, when there's an occasion, it is throughout worldwide, right? Everybody observes simultaneously and that thing, notwithstanding within their own 24 hours span of the day, right? Some will start earlier and some will start later, and so on.
No, but even with the when you look at the fact that there are Muslim countries who do use the Islamic calendar for their everyday use. So if they are waiting to see when every month starts, it would be chaos. Because here we have a global village. Everybody is making working with days throughout the year, throughout the world. And here we are saying it will be on it will be this date, and they are saying it will be on next date. So from that standpoint, is really we certainly God would not make something that would make us so difficult, so that we have to look to know when each month starts.
Right. No, it is interesting to learn that the Hanafi position. Now, the Hanafi madhab is what most of Trinidad follow and so on, is that they should accept a global sighting, right? And but the scholars have said, well, things are not in place and that sort of thing, you know. But if we just keep saying that and things are not in place, and here we have what we expect technology to improve more and so on, and communication and so on. We have adequate communication, adequate technology to be able to accept a global sighting, right? Once it is sighted. If we look at it, sometimes in the past we would have said in Trinidad we just taken a local position, right? And then again another time you would have said we taken a regional, right?
And that's because of communication.
Right. So what prevents us from taking a global position, right?
Because really the communication that makes the difference.
Yeah.
That would have, in fact, that would have been the limiting factor in dealing with one local and then regional. And the same factor would have been what, at the time that the Prophet ﷺ, that in fact would have been the limiting factor.
Yes, communication. Yeah.
Because as you rightly said, there was one guy who said that, you know, he would have seen it, but he only brought it up a month ago.
Right.
Because he was not in a position to be able to communicate it effectively at that time.
Yeah. So the if we look at the time in itself, right? Time is like a creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, right? And we should really ponder whether we are really giving full respect to the creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, you know? In that we know the earth takes 24 hours to go around, right? And so within that 24 hours, every place on earth should experience part of the day, you know? I mentioned things like, okay, look like our tahajjud, right? When you see Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He comes down to the lowest heaven when 1/3 of the night remains, right? Now, if we should just look at that, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala coming down and the world's going around, right? We should see that Allah's mercy is constant. It's just that we are moving into it at different times, which is also our belief that His mercy is there for us throughout, you know. And so it gives us a better understanding. Now, when you examine all the ayat, and then Allah keeps is in about at least 5 ayats I mentioned here where He says He has fixed the stages. Why He keeps mentioning that? He has fixed the stages, and it's a measurement of time, of periods of time for the people, right? So that alone should help us to understand.
It has nothing to do with this weather or conditions, whatever situation. Those are fixed and they are known.
Yeah, they are known, And this is what Allah said it, and our scientists now have more.
But remember, the Muslims were the one who were very adept at astrology and knew these things from the beginning.
Right.
So why should we not? Astrology was worn by most scholars at that time in the Muslim world. Astrology was a big thing that they used to deal with for that particular purpose. Because it's mentioned in Quran, all those things are mentioned in Quran, in terms of the time and the moon and the stars and those kind of things. So it is something that is very close to to Islam. And now we are seeing that we are shying away from utilizing that same science that we have always been strong in.
The thing is, we utilize it otherwise, right? And I go back to the same fasting timetable which you get everybody publish, right? Nobody disputes that, right?
Nobody going to take up a thing like white thread and see if you can see it.
So, and that is as important, you know, to when to start your fast and when to break your fast. And it may not be dead accurate. Like, for example, like in Trinidad, you know, now they tell you, when they give you, they still tell you, wait 5 minutes before 5 minutes after. Now, 5 minutes is a lot of time. Plenty things could happen in 5 minutes. So, but when Allah gives you that injunction to look when it's visible, you white from the black, you could tell that it cannot be exact, right?
You have a span
because you're looking at eyesight, right, and so on. Like, well, you are in Santa Cruz. I don't know your experience there, but in Diego Martin, right?
The
We
same
the sun,
valley,
yeah, the
yeah,
sun
and we
sets long
surrounded by
before,
mountains.
yeah, yeah.
So we will take a longer time to see the light coming up.
Right, and on evenings too, when the
Yeah,
sun
the
set,
same
it
thing,
goes long quicker,
quickly.
yeah. I'm told that the old Imam, he used to look, you know, he used to send people, to check and see how dark it is there, if the sun has set and so on, yeah. So, we we need to be consistent, right? If we need to, if we have to be credible and so on, we we cannot say that we're going to accept it on a daily basis, the sunset, the sunrise, and then we
Calculated times.
calculated times,
And they don't want to do it for the
for the
monthly one.
right, yes. So we need to ponder, we need to ponder and really examine. We do not know in if we this small gesture towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in unifying the ummah, we do not know how much Allah will be pleased with that and how much He will improve our conditions because of
That's
that,
right.
yeah, yeah. And the rank and file Muslims are dependent on the leaders, the ulama, right? And the ulama must be, when I say, honest and complete with the people, you know, give them the complete information, you know, and help them to make decisions and so on. Help them to realize, to instead of having them dependent on you always, you know, and not only that, uh, you should not be this authoritative figure, right? That only if I say so or if we say so, this could be so on, so on, so on. We need to level with the people and take accept views from all different perspectives, from all different disciplines. You find people like people versed in astronomy will be able to assist you, people astrology, whatever it is, right? They will be able to assist you.
No, but we have an expert who is a Muslim, Dr. Shireen Haq, and she is in that field, and she gives, she sends out the information. She gives you the angle, how old the moon would be, what angle it would be, how long it would be up, and how if it would be able to see, and how much minutes it will be available to be seen, everything.
Right.
So we don't need anything again from a scientific standpoint. And the only reason why I wouldn't see it because, as you said, because it might be cloudy.
Right.
That's why we didn't see it. But we know it there, and we know we ought to have seen it.
Right.
So, and that's why we should be able to go with it.
Yeah. You see, when we are told that in hadith, right? Shaitan comes to us in the morning, right? And he whispers in our ears, the night is long, you sleep,
Yeah.
you know, prevents you from
Getting up.
knowing the time, right? So, and in the Quran, right, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Shaitan respite at his request, he said, I will wait for them, I will mislead them, and I will cause them to change the nature of the created things. Now, time is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we, as I say, the time is the same all over. One day here and the is equivalent to the days in another part. So Allah says, be united. Shaitan says, I will divide you. So look at it that way and see if we can look at this and get advantage out of the unification factor with a global side. Then.
But there are those who have vested interest in dividing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes them have a power base.
Yeah. You know, I was surprised. I was after I read did this book, right? Somebody gave me a little booklet on moon sighting, and the ulama in South Africa did it, right? And there they were condemning. A committee met to consider a global calendar, and they were condemning them, right? And they use a hadith from Bukhari, right? They use it from Imam Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "We are an illiterate nation. We neither write nor know accounts. The month is like this and like this, 29 sometimes and 30 sometimes." So what he is actually telling you there, right? We are an illiterate nation. At this time, 1400 years after, we are still illiterate. We should be illiterate, right? He's saying that, you know? Because if the hadith is plain, you know, and actually that was after, so I decided I'll put that hadith on the cover, on the inside front cover, yeah. We, and then the Prophet ﷺ, even recognizing we were at that time we were an illiterate nation, he did all within his powers to educate the Muslims, right? Even people having prisoners ransom themselves by teaching Muslims
Yeah.
and so on. He understood, he knew the importance of education and for the Ummah, and we should not be we should be able to put this hadith in its proper context, you know. We are no longer illiterate. We have all this knowledge available to us and all this technology and so on. So it should not really, we should not stress upon it and make it that...
No, but I think we have to differentiate on two things. One, the Prophet ﷺ came for mankind and for the whole of the future. But he also came to change this illiterate people that was there at the time. So there are things that he would have said to them to bring them up to scratch that would not apply, that would apply to them, right? Like changing their culture from one of hedonism and paganism to Islam, which he did over 23 years. And then there were concepts that he brought forward that we are only seeing now could be understood. Like the details of how a child develops in the womb. It's only in the last 100 years that they would have been able, or probably less than that, that they would have been able to really look at that and understand it and knew it and verify that everything is being said there is fact. They would not have been able to understand that at that time. But that particular hadith would have referred to him talking to those people. And the fact that he would have told them that, like, we would need to look and see the moon before you start. It means that he was talking to a people at that time, and the technology or lack of technology at that time, that is what they would have understood. Certainly if he was in this time, he would not have been asking people about that. Because this is such a fundamental from the point of view of base, right? But we take it and make it in such a big issue in Islam, and to the effect that it makes Islam in itself looks illiterate.
Yeah, because we are acting like if we are stuck in the past.
That's right.
So
and sometimes those who make that an issue don't even realize what they're doing. I suppose they bask in the glory that though they are at the forefront because everybody is now depending on them to say, all right, yes, we saw it, or we didn't see it, or it was seen here, or it was seen there, and we have to make the decision. And we have made the decision that we will only look at this region or this particular area. And those are the kind of things that, and one organization wants to say it first and jump on the other one before the other one say it. Those are the kind of absurd things that we see. That has nothing to do with Islam and nothing to do with the welfare of Muslims, right? And that is why this issue is still going on at this time.
You see, the mere fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He has perfected the religion for us, right? and he has perfected it for all times. Remember, what we have is to take us until Qiyamah, right? For all times. And we cannot say or entertain the notion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not aware that today, 2017, whatever today is, that we would have all these technologies available to us and that sort of thing. So we take that and we take things like what he put concerning the fixation and so on, and we realize that it can be applied, it can be applied
Right,
to
let's
the
just take
benefit.
a short break here and we'll come back and finish that point.
Okay, sure.
Reduced sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, yummy.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
Exactly.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, yummy.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. And we are dealing with moon sighting with our brother Imam Mustafa Bagrati, who has done his book. And if you want to get a copy of the book, you can either call Mustafa or call myself or call the station here, and they'll give you the numbers that you could get and where you could find the books.
It's
But I know
available at Balmain Masjid also.
Yeah, or you could check at Balmain Masjid, and they will have there. You could call me and I will get it to you, no problem. But I know he had sent it out to all the different Jamaats. And that's my number there. Text, WhatsApp, or call, as the case may be, and we'll get you either Mustafa's number or we'll get the book to you. So Mustafa, you were saying that
Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has perfected the deen, right? And he is all aware. He knows everything, right? When he told the pen to write, the pen said, well, it's a write until what will happen until the end, right? So Allah knows that what would be available to us now. And what he put in the Quran, if we reconcile it with what we have, we'll see that we can find a way, right? Remember, we say the religion is a universal religion. We say that all the time when we talk to people. Islam is for everybody, the entire world, right? So whatever aspect you put out of Islam, of the deen, it must be acceptable, right? And this is one aspect of it. How can we following the same religion? Let's pretend the entire world accept. We following the same religion. We celebrating the same occasions and so on. And you doing it one day different.
Yeah.
Like I made the analogy there of if you have someone who is ill and they require life-saving surgery, right? And let's say the world is following the Islamic calendar, which people want, right? And you schedule an operation, right? For the 10th of Muharram, whatever, right? And then you wait in, and the surgeon has to come from abroad. When he comes on 11, 12, 13, your family died and you're burying them, right? And why didn't come? Well, we didn't see the moon until so and so day, We have to look at these things.
No, a lot of these guys who deal with these issues do not realize and don't see things in that worldview. They see things only in a narrow theological perspective, not realizing that we're in a world that is connected. It's like a global village. And everything impacts on one another. And this is how we have to view Islam at this point in time. But we go and we make some rulings and some fiqh issues that have no place and no relevance to this particular area. And we don't understand on those principles. That is, we need to deal with things on a worldwide basis. Right. Because you could be wherever you're with WhatsApp now, or any one of those messengers. You could get information any part of the world now.
Right.
in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, you see, and if you ask all the ulama and so on, what's the state of our Islam? Are you pleased? Nobody will tell you yes that we are doing the proper thing and we are whatever we are doing is pleasing to Allah, right? They and but Islam is one discipline different to the others. You find if you have if you have bad roads and so in your area, you blame the government. If somebody dies unfortunately in the hospital, you blame the doctors and so on, right? Right? Islam is the only discipline where the leaders blame the people, and they don't see it as themselves having to do something to assist
And fix the thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of introspection is needed, and we need to really ponder and carry out our Islam as it is meant to be, as the universal religion, as the perfected religion, as whatever we do pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keeping united, not being divided. I say this is one simple thing, right, that we could do to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with unity, and to seek the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
When I made reference to the book in the beginning, when I read it, and one of the things I pointed out is the question of how it was put together with intellect. I think that's one area that is lacking in a big way within the Muslim or the Islamic ulama. It is one thing to have a lot of knowledge in your head. That in itself is not intellect. That doesn't make you an intellectual.
Right.
It makes you
knowledgeable.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, intellect is a different thing. Intellect is using the knowledge you have to bring results in certain areas.
Apply the situation.
That's right.
Articulate the
All right.
knowledge. Yeah.
And bring relief. And I always like to refer to to emphasize this point, that the hadith where one man came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked, if I kill somebody, would I be able to repent? And he told him, yes. A little while after, another person came and asked the same question, and he told him no. So of course the Sahabas, sitting there listening, was astonished how he could tell one man yes and one man no.
Right.
And he explained, the first man who came, he saw that he was really sorrowful, right? Because he had actually killed somebody already. And he told him yes to go ahead and make repentance.
Right.
The other guy who came after, he was enraged and wanted to go and kill somebody.
Right.
So he told him no.
Right.
And if this doesn't give us the understanding, a lot of scholars or guys who give khatibs and so on, they like to rattle off the result or the ruling in a particular hadith with no relationship to the circumstances which that ruling was given.
Right.
And all of them has a great element of intellect involved in it. In fact, I had a long conversation on or discussion with another brother on intellect. There are those who feel that things, in fact, he was saying something, and I explained to him, but this don't make no sense, right? His view is that Islam is not based on intellect. Just follow rulings.
Yeah, I've
Right?
heard that. Yeah.
And that is the objective of I did about 7 program of Maqasid Sharia.
Mm-hmm.
The objective, the 5 major objective of Maqasid is the preservation of life, the preservation of intellect, the preservation of your faith, the preservation of your progeny, and the preservation of your wealth. So the preservation of your intellect, and the Quran refers to intellect, those who understand, several times.
Right.
This book is a guidance for those who understand.
Right.
Not just who read it,
And those who ponder too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
or those of understanding. And there are some of us who think that intellect has nothing to do with Islam. Blindly follow.
Well, this is it. And also, you have evidence where in certain areas, the ulama are trained like that, right? To blindly follow. So do not explore your knowledge. Do not interpret things according to the situation and so on. And this has passed on to the people. And
Right
the
from the 6th century.
yeah, the people are like that also. They follow blindly, right? If you come and show somebody, you have a black and a white, and you show them the white one, say that is white, and they might want to tell you they had to go and ask the sheikh before they accept that, you know. So the thing is, you see, we have to realize when we stand before Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to give our account, we will stand as individuals, right? We will stand as individuals. We have to give our own account. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has given us our own intellect. He will judge us by what He has given us, right? And we wouldn't be able to tell Him that we follow this one and we follow that one and so on. I'm not saying that following is wrong or anything, right? But I'm just saying you need to be able to discern right from wrong and to do some thinking on you. At least when you're following somebody, you must
No
be
rational.
yeah, and you must be confident that this is the best thing, the correct thing, and so on, and we are following. So there is no substitute for learning your deen, learning your religion, and understanding it, and taking charge of yourself, because what you will have to account for, I may not have to account for, because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala may have endowed you differently to me, and so on. So the common folk, the ordinary Muslim, needs to ponder, right, and know their religion, know their deen. When they accept something and they fall in something, they must know why. Do not just choose to remain a follower and are following this one and anything. So we had always made this reference. We had a group in Mova somewhere. They used to be dressed all in white, selling attar and fedrisi, and they think the name was Ansarullah.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, their leader was a Sudanese. In their own community, they were so progressive. The children were speaking Arabic and so on. And I think suddenly he started to talk to them about UFOs and that kind of thing. And that was it, you know. That was it. I don't know how many remained Muslims, how many then, but the whole entity broke up, and that was it. So, although we are confident, we must know that what we are doing is right. So, like when Umar radiallahu ta'ala, when he couldn't accept it when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, Abu Bakr told him he died. Yeah, he's the Prophet. If he's the Prophet he was following, no, the Prophet has died. Islam is there. Islam remains, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there always, right? And the deen is there for us to follow and to pursue, regardless. So you cannot have like Mufti Shabir, may Allah have mercy on his soul, used to tell us, do not follow anybody blindly, and do not overlove anybody, because you're going to run into
and anybody who really has Islam at their heart will tell you that. But there are some who won't. and are glad to have followers who follow them blindly.
Mm,
And we have to get beyond that
yeah.
as Muslims.
Yeah, if and well, as we'll go along, you see us exploring the
Yeah.
book in terms of the unifying factors and that sort of thing. Yeah.
All right, so I think we covered at least one today.
Mhm.
Any final word on this particular issue with the
Well,
global sighting and
the thing is, I would like people study it, look at it for yourself, and see
yeah, I
that.
made a point about the day of Arafah in this thing.
Oh yeah, the day of Arafah, right? Now remember when our Hajis are there, right? They are going to be standing on the plains of Arafah on a certain day, right? And we are told if we fast on that day, we will get our sins will be forgiven 2 years, right? And there's no day on which Allah frees so many people from fire of Jahannam than on the day of Arafah, right? So when they are standing there, that's the day of Arafah. How you want to fast the following day and have you eat the following day also, right? When they are standing there, no, they stand there from Zohar time there. Time we get up is our Fajr time, right? You see, we'll have the part of the day in common, right? They're standing there making dua. We are here fasting and also making dua, and that is more powerful and more beneficial for the Muslims, right? So we should look at all these things, you know, and then we accept it there, you know. When Trinidadians go up there, they just find out well, the moon is seen already, you know. There we go.
The idea
The idea of Arafat, right? Right? So we accept it. So we need to work towards
we complicate issues
yeah.
unnecessarily.
Yeah, and I always I said too that we must not just forget the Saudi moon sighting, because remember Saudi Arabia is one place that all Muslims have attachment to, right? All Muslims from all over the world.
Well, they like them, huh?
Right. we attach there to the Haram and both
Right.
Haram and so that's where the Prophet ﷺ was born. That is where contemporary Islam started, right? That is where the Prophet ﷺ said it will return, you know, the deen will return to the Hijaz, right? Right? So our aim should be whatever could be done to make sure that the Saudi sighting is authentic and acceptable, and so the entire world could explore the possibility of accepting. Because if we have to unite on it, we have to take one, you know. And when you say we have to trust people, we cannot trust ourselves alone. I said they pointed out that once the Saudi authorities made a mistake with the day, and I say, okay, well, how many times have we made mistakes, right, in getting the day wrong? So, and we should we definitely can rule out that place is significant for us, right? And the more we can unite around there, it will be better for us.
And the fact is
inshallah.
that whatever you think about the Saudis, they have used a lot of technology to upgrade the Haram, all the different aspects of Hajj, and even the moon sighting facility. They have high-level telescopes that they use to ensure they use the necessary technology to know when to look for the thing, just like we have here.
Right.
Right.
Well, you know, there's one view that it must be seen with the naked eye. No, the glasses allowed. We have to remember when glasses were invented, we weren't wearing them. People used to hold them like this. Look at it, right? So the telescope now, it helps. I've seen nothing in Hadith or Quran
Right, that
that
But
say we
telescope
should
was
not use
wrong
it.
since, as I said,
Yeah.
since the scholars were involved in astrology. With the early scholars in the second, third century of Islam,
But look at the irony, right? One person disputing Saudi saying the only way they could have seen that moon was with the was through a telescope. They couldn't see it
Naked eye.
So what he's actually doing there, he is using his knowledge of calculation to dispel
Yeah.
the sighting, right? And then you don't want to apply it otherwise, right? So I think there must be a reconciliation there with the actual sighting and the technology and the both sighting and information communication.
All right, brothers. I would like to say thank you to Brother Bhagwati for coming and going through this little book with us, and we'll continue our discussion on the other areas that he had covered in the book next week. So join us once again for another interest in different perspectives. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.